You're listening to the Visionary Lifestyle Podcast, the show that's dedicated to raising consciousness and empowering you to activate your highest potential. I'm your host, Magda Freedom Rod. Greetings, Rainbow Warriors. I'm coming to you today from Bali, and we're just post-Bali Spirit Festival here. Ooh, that was a whirlwind that left me feeling healed, transformed, connected, and oh so grateful. I got to take the stage twice to share my conscious eating message with the conscious yoga community, and I'm feeling really grateful to be connecting with so many like-minded earth and rainbow warriors here. If you're inspired by the spirit of Bali, make sure to check out this festival and maybe plan to join us here next year. I recorded over a dozen interviews with some of their amazing teachers, and I really look forward to sharing all those conversations with you when they come around in the queue. So today's guest is Morwena Bugano. Morwena is a passionate and inspired channeler, healer, and yogi who loves to dance between realms. Working internationally, she offers energy healing sessions and runs trainings and workshops in Reiki, crystal healing, channeling, and angelic communication. Morwenna is a channel for source consciousness and the angelic realm. She reawakens these energy channels within her clients, gently activating them into their path of truth, lovingly releasing the stories and moving into pure potential. I met Morwena last year at the Sanctuary Thailand on the island of Ko Phangan and was struck instantly by her high vibes and graceful nature. We got a chance to sit down together for her to explain about the different types of energy healing she knows and offers to her clients. It's interesting for me to listen to this interview again now after I became certified in Reiki during my last trip to India. I really resonate with her explanation of Reiki, and I'm grateful to now be certified in this healing modality. If energy healing is somewhat of a mystery to you, this episode should shine some light on it. Make sure you listen until the end, where Morwena shares tips for self-healing and to help get your own energy flowing. Check out the show notes at visionary-lifestyle.com/podcast to learn more about Morwena's work and to connect with her. Enjoy and namaste. Happy healing. Morwena Bugano, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Hello, hello.
Yay, it's happening. Here we are at the Sanctuary in Thailand, a magical place, I must say.
Yes.
It's this really private little bay that's just full of activated yogis. It feels like a real blessing to be here. And you offer energy healing here at the Sanctuary.
Yes.
Right, a wide variety actually of energy healing, and everything comes down, as we've been talking, to the common denominator of vibration.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what is it that you offer here, and what does vibration have to do with it?
Okay, so here I offer a variety of different modalities. And so one of them is a Reiki-based energy healing modality, which is essentially where you can tune into the energetic field of another person, and you can see and sense what's going on with them. And so you can feel for any energetic imbalances, and you can bring about balance in those areas. And so you have the map of the chakras, the main energy centers of the body. And you also can feel into whether there's an imbalance in mind, body, and heart as well, and bring balance into those spaces whilst flowing the life force or the prana or chi energy through myself into the energetic space of the other person. So that's one of the modalities that I offer here. Another one is Theta Healing, which is the reprogramming of subconscious beliefs. And so our subconscious beliefs, they run over 85% of all of our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. And so we can be really aware and conscious about how we're thinking or feeling. However, we still only have 15% control. Everything else is on autopilot on the back burner without us even really realizing it. And so that's how we can keep on attracting vibrationally similar cycles into our life, why we keep repeating the same patterns and cycles. And so through Theta Healing, you can actually slow down the brain waves into the theta brainwave, which is more a state of meditation. And then you can go into the subconscious and clear away limiting beliefs, and you can bring in new beliefs. And so that's all done whilst completely tuned into source. So whatever word you have for that, source, universe, divine, God, creator, spirit, whatever word that is for you, and it's all completely guided. And another thing that I offer here is channeling. So that's when I get into a state of deep meditation and connect into a group of spiritual teachers and guides, and people can come along and ask questions and receive guidance. And it's not so much like a psychic reading where they'll tell you what's coming up for you or what choices might be best for you, but more it's about self-empowerment and what's your perspective, what's the bigger picture, how are you holding yourself back, how can you move forward. So it's actually all about self-empowerment. They're really wanting to remind you of how to get back into your flow and how to really trust your intuition and move forwards in your life, in your power, essentially. And so all of those things come down to frequency, which we have been speaking about, right? And so when you start to break things down, everything turns into energy. So if you were, for example, to look at your hand under a microscope, it no longer looks like this. It's mostly space, and then you have a few molecules bouncing around that then create energy, and energy has a frequency. And so the frequency that holds my body together is very different from the frequency that, say, emanates from a light bulb. And so within us we have many different frequencies active, and so emotions have their own different type of frequency. And so, for example, if you are in a space of perhaps not feeling so good, we feel a bit heavier and a bit denser, hence where the saying comes from of feeling down in the dumps, because those feelings genuinely are denser in energetic frequency. So if you look at the waves, the frequency waves of emotions, it's a more dense wave than, say, the lighter feelings of happiness, joy, relaxation. So and people have actually now created an emotional scale to be able to range the different emotions within a measurable dynamic as well. And so really what we're looking at is to change and uplift our frequency. And so it's to let go of the things that no longer serve us, that hold us back, for example, and to really start bringing in the new frequencies that are going to help us to move forwards. And what keeps coming through in the teachings is that we are going through a huge shift as a collective consciousness, which I'm sure we keep hearing time and time again from many people, and for sure many of us are feeling it. And so things that perhaps were working for us in the past perhaps don't feel quite so right anymore. And that's really because we're starting to shift out of one way of being and existing and living in a certain framework and paradigm, and we're now moving into a framework which is much more heart-based, heart-centered, working together rather than feeling like we have to be on our own and create everything on an individual level in the world. And so within doing this, it's also it's almost like the earth under our feet is kind of giving us a bit of a tremor and shaking up all of the stuff that has been in hibernation but running on the back burner in the subconscious. And it's starting to come up and feel a bit uncomfortable for many of us, because it's now being brought out from the subconscious into our conscious. And these things sometimes feel a bit uncomfortable, but it is just a way of processing. So it's coming through so that we can feel it, experience it, and let it go. And really the trick at the moment is to not get too lost in the story or the heaviness of the emotion, but to just take a step back and to allow space for this to move through. And that's the way of really being able to process that and to allow new frequency, the space to come in.
Perfect. Yeah, I would agree that basically and when you say us, the collective, we're talking about humanity, and how the world right now is, has shaken us to awaken us, right? It's like there's a lot of, I'm going to try to keep this a clean episode and not go explicit. I was going to use the S word, but a lot of shite is being brought to the surface right now. Like the pot is boiling, right? And there's a lot of crap at the top, and things are coming to light, and it's perfect because these are things that need to be purged and cleared and, recognized and worked through. And a couple of questions that came up for me as you were explaining the different energy healings. Reiki, we haven't talked much about Reiki on the show yet. So you say use the chakras as a guide. Is that standard for Reiki? Is all Reiki using the chakras? Yeah,
so the foundation and basis of Reiki is where the practitioner will connect in and flow source or prana chi energy through themselves into the energy field of the client. And what the practitioner is doing is they are using the chakras as the map, and they are really feeling for the imbalances within each of the chakras, and they are working to bring balance into that. And so my experience is that because each of the chakras is linked very much to different aspects of life, often when you are deeply present and deeply listening, which that kind of work really requires you to do, often you will get insight as to what is also going on for the person. And so if you're meant to see or know, you can then also offer that insight of what they might be able to do in their life as well to create more balance after the session within that for them. And so that's essentially what Reiki is. It's balancing the main chakras of the body to allow for the subtle energy flow to be more healthy and balanced, and to let go of what you no longer need.
Beautiful. Okay. A question that came up about the Theta Healing is, so it's reprogramming essentially, right? So you're going into the subconscious, you're slowing down the brain waves, bringing it into the theta state so people can be more receptive in the subconscious state. So when you say it's all guided, is that when you get the person into the theta state, is that you offering affirmations verbally? Is that how that healing works? So
when through a Theta Healing session, it's more that I would tune in and I would ask for what is the bottom belief that is really holding this cycle in place for the person, because we'll be talking about a topic that they'd like to shift or grow in some way. And so then I'll ask for what the bottom belief is that's holding this whole cycle together. And then what we do is we muscle test the body. So the body is a very useful tool. And the body can hold yes/no answers. And so when a truth for the body will be strong. And so there's a way for checking that with the fingers or with an arm being put out to the side and pushed down upon. And when it's an untruth, the body will go weak. And so that's a way of testing that you've got the bottom belief, as that's the one you want to be working with, which will start to shift the whole.
So we're talking about like a foundational false belief.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Has the muscle testing been scientifically proven, to your knowledge?
Scientifically proven, I am unsure to my knowledge.
Okay.
However, I know that it's been used for a really long time, and it's used in kinesiology as well as Theta Healing.
I'm curious about that because I've seen it done and I've experienced it myself, and I'm just wondering what the science community says about that. I'm sure somebody has studied it. I don't know. We'll look for a link and see if we can find a study to include in the show notes about this, because I find it really fascinating. And as I had mentioned to you, I interviewed Bruce Lipton in India, and this is his work is epigenetics and the biology of belief, and how he says up to 95% of we're running on subconscious programming, and all before we're 7 years old. So we're all running around with this old programming, and I think it's incredibly useful, any tool that we can offer people to get into that, whatever it is, 85-95% that's running our whole lives, and reprogram it. So okay, so you do the muscle testing, you get to the foundational false beliefs, and then once you establish that, then what happens?
So then what I'm doing is I'm asking the person if they would like certain things to happen. So we start to break down the belief essentially. So I start to ask, well, would you like, well, first of all, we'll actually see kind of where it came from. And without going into the story, it's in a light way, just to start releasing energetic hooks, bonds, cords, ties. So these are, with every person that we connect with, especially if we have a deep connection or relationship with them, we can actually do a bit of an energy exchange. And so we can formulate hooks, bonds, cords and ties is what we call them, between people and places and times. And so then we start to let go and release of the things that are holding us back, that are actually linking us with other people. And then I start to ask whether they would like for certain things to take place, whether they'd like to let go of certain beliefs, whether they'd like to have sources, perspective, understanding and definition on, say, happiness, know what it feels like. So it's, again, energy downloads. So this is where frequency comes in. So we call them downloads from source. So it's like teaching the mind, body and emotional system new ways of feeling and new frequencies. So it's very much a vibrational frequency modality.
Interesting. Okay, so I can see it. So going into, you know, kind of an example case, if we talk about, say, somebody's living in lack consciousness and they want more abundance in their life, and you know, you come down to the, you know, the core belief that, you know, I'm not worthy of financial abundance or whatever, right? So from there, you go into, I just want to tell me if I'm right or wrong in my interpretation, because I'm just so intrigued by this, and I think I'm going to have to do a session with you after this. So what you're doing is helping people literally download the vibration of abundance, for example. So that they're and into the subconscious, so that becomes the new program that's running, instead of the old subconscious program of I'm not worthy or whatever the false belief is. Interesting.
Exactly. And working to release the old programming that's blocking the new programming from coming in as well.
So it's releasing the old and then downloading the new. So like deleting the old file, downloading a new file. So it's literally the vibration that you're downloading. And like installing the new program. That's so rad. Wow, everybody should do this. Okay, so you offer sessions here at the Sanctuary, and you've also built an online platform, right, that you're doing group sessions on.
Exactly. Right? So I'm running group workshops, so group channeling, group Theta Healing, group Theta downloads, and I do private one-on-one Skypes as well.
Great. Okay, so you can actually work virtually with people. You don't have to be right there.
No.
And Reiki works long distance as well, doesn't it?
It does, because this is the thing. The way that we're working is outside of the time-space limitation. And so it really doesn't make any effect on whether I'm here with you or whether we're doing it long distance. And I've worked with many clients online, and they still feel the benefits of it. Even in the moment when we're doing the work, they can still feel the energy flowing through them.
Wow. Have you worked with people that are completely new to this? I mean, I just wonder if the receiver has to be open, or I mean, have you ever worked with skeptical people who are like, oh, this is a bunch of woo-woo, and then you see like a transformation? I mean,
and that's really fun. So of course, it's very much dependent on the person with the kind of session that will happen. However, I have had people that came in and they were going with the flow, and then at the end they said to me, I have to say I was really skeptical, but I really felt that, and I'm a bit freaked out about it because they weren't expecting it. And so I have had that.
It's interesting because I wonder about that, because if we're talking about, you know, I just keep going back to Bruce Lipton's title because it's so appropriate, you know, the biology of belief. If people come in skeptical, you would think maybe it won't work for them because, you know, even consciously, much less subconsciously, they're like, meh, it's not going to work.
Yeah. And
so the fact that it still does just shows how powerful the healing is.
Definitely. And I feel there's an element of that too. So if there's somebody that really feels it's not for them, then again, it's the filtering system, right? So we're perhaps not going to let it in. However, even if people can be a bit skeptical, but there's an element in there that feels that it might work, or hope even, then that's still a doorway for it to come in. So it's again what's going on for the individual.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. I'd like to hear a little bit more about the channeling. Like, how did that start for you? And you're talking to these, you know, guides and entities, or I mean, what do you call them, guides, right? Yeah. So who are they, and where did they come from, and how did you first connect with them, and how does it work when you're channeling them? Do you hear a voice? Is it an energy that, like, tell us some more about that.
Okay. So with the guides, well, ever since I was quite young, I could feel a presence around me, like a really loving, supportive presence around me. And they would just come in and out in times of need, really, actually, when I felt like I needed support. And then I didn't think too much of it until later on in life. And so this was when I started doing all the energy healing side of things. With the Reiki, things would evolve. So then I'd be able to see the energy within people and what was going on for them, and I'd see their guides around, and it just started developing more and more each time I went into sessions. And so that sparked an interest, and I did a bit of training with the word's gone, in some psychic things. And then when it really turned was this moment. I had a psychic reading done on myself, and I left feeling actually really sad about it. It didn't feel good. There wasn't really anything positive to work with from this session, and I felt really a bit scared, actually. And I went home, and this was when I was living in Australia, and my mum was in England. And Mum was online, and so I Skyped Mum and said, Mum, I've had this really weird session and it doesn't feel so good. And so my mum's an energy worker too, so I've grown up with this, and I'm so grateful to have Mum the way she is in my life. She's just awesome. Role
modeling this for you. Yeah, beautiful.
She's amazing. And so she does energy work, and she's been working with the same group of spiritual teachers and guides since I was 12. So she's got a really strong connection. And she said to me, I'm getting a really strong message coming through. It doesn't normally come through in words, it's normally in feeling. But my spiritual guides are saying, don't listen to that, that's not right. You're doing everything completely right. It's just going to take you off your path if you listen to that. It's not true, don't worry. And when those words came in, I just found myself just bursting into tears. I had goosebumps going up and down my body, just because I could feel the truth in what was coming through. And from that session, I could feel how she felt when she was receiving that message and transferring or translating it to me. It was very much an energy thing. And it was a very loving and supportive feeling, very warming. And so after that, I went off and meditated straight after the call, whilst I was still in that zone and feeling that, and just started asking questions. And before I'd even finished the sentence, an answer would come in really fast. And so that's when I could feel that connection, and I could feel that that was energy I could trust. And I just started playing with it. And so then this relationship built up of just asking questions and receiving answers in a really playful way. And as you do, you trust and you play more, and then you grow. And then that's how it took off. Then friends started asking me for readings, and I just started doing that. And then from the outside world, people were giving me confirmation that my voice would change, and that my speech pattern would change, and the information that was coming through was not the way that I would normally talk. And yeah, so I would receive that kind of information. And so the way that they are, I call them a group of spiritual teachers. It's not as clear cut and definable as that. Really, it's essentially source energy. That's really what we're tuning into. And so spiritual teachers and the spiritual guides are just kind of another form of that, just as we are source energy in human form. It's similar to that, but really at the bottom of it, it's source energy.
But in non-human form.
Yeah, in non-human form. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's an incredible gift you have. I would like to tune into that. I would like to think that all people have the ability, right? So what would be a way for people to connect with that? Are we talking about like third eye work? I mean, ajna, chakra, meditations and things to tune into that kind of intuition?
Yeah, and I'm so glad you asked this. I'm getting goosebumps as we talk about this, which makes me feel like this is what it's all about, right? And completely. So everyone can do this. The main thing is believing that you can do it and that it's possible. Giving yourself evidence of that. So whether that's reading books or whatever's going to support your mind to know that you can do this. And really what it comes down to when I explain this to people is it's really about bringing your focus into the present moment. So we can be so busy and chaotic in the mind and we're thinking about tomorrow or yesterday that almost all of our receptive abilities are taken up, so the storage is full. And so when we bring our attention right back into the present moment, we're actually opening up all of our receptivity. And so that is really and that's what I mean by deep listening, which I mentioned earlier. You are so focused in the present moment that you are deeply listening and you are really open and receptive in that moment to be able to hear answers or receive guidance. And to know as well that actually that source energy and the energy of spirit guides, it's not actually something that's outside of us. It's something that we are, and it's all one. And so actually the deeper we go inside, the more connected we are. And it's not reaching outside for something. And that's, I think, another thing to highlight. Often we look outside of ourselves for answers and give away our power, but actually we have everything inside, all of the answers inside. We just need to believe in ourselves and trust ourselves. And that's really what is wanting to be shared in the world right now.
Yeah, thank you. Very well said. And that it's a perfect conversation for the show because it's visionary lifestyle, which is very much about envisioning things, right? So it's very much third eye work and envisioning things, you know, not outside of ourselves, but I love to think of the third eye as like a portal that we close the physical eyes, we open the third eye and we just dive into it. It's like diving into ourselves, like eternal deep space, you know, boundless deep space within ourselves is how I think about the third eye, like that portal that we have access to, you know, all the time, right? So yeah, this is so on point with the whole mission of the show, the whole energy of the show. This is great. What would be some tips you would give people for, you know, connecting with their intuition and maybe developing some of these skills that you have and learning how to heal themselves? Because I know that Reiki is one of the modalities that you can actually do on yourself. Theta Healing, can you also do that on yourself? Okay. So what would you suggest to people who are, you know, really feeling this conversation and interested in learning more about energy and maybe moving into some of this space, learning how to heal themselves or heal others? Or are there any practical guidance or tips that you could pass on to people?
So with the intuition and the deep listening and bringing yourself into the present moment, so anything that will act as a tool is really useful. And so whether that is something like writing, whether it's painting, whether it's coloring, whether it's going for a really mindful walk on the beach where you're fully focused on your body, whether it's going for a swim with intention and fully feeling the ocean on your skin. So anything that's really going to really bring you into the present moment, meditation as well. So it's really anything that gets you into that flow will really help. And that's whatever way feels good for you. It could even be dancing, singing. There's just an unlimited way of doing things, right? And that's what makes life so exciting. There's 1,000 different ways to do a similar thing or reach the same goal, right? And so just finding what works for you to get you into that flow state, essentially, that timelessness where the boundaries just get merged and blurry. You feel supported and in the zone, and that everything's flowing easily and effortlessly. Just whatever can help you to bring yourself into that state regularly. So to do that just even for 5 minutes each day, it's like a muscle. So if you were to do that just for 5 minutes each day, you'll notice actually how much more intuitive and receptive you are throughout the rest of the day, which is really, really helpful. And then on self-healing and on that topic, I would recommend, so if people want to do some self-healing, well, first of all, intention is really key. So the power of intention is really quite amazing. So for example, there's that study that was done by Dr. Emoto and the water experiments with the 2 jars of water. He labeled one I love you, one I hate you, and then set the intention to each one, froze the 2 jugs of water, and then looked through a microscope, and the molecular structure had actually changed. So the I love you water was beautiful synchronicity and icicle structure, and the I hate you water was disharmony and chaos, essentially. And they've done this with music as well, classical music versus rock music. And so that's also the power of intention, right? So if you are to sit with yourself really quietly and set the intention to heal or to move something, and you're deeply talking to yourself, because you are actually over 70% water. And so when you are setting an intention, every cell of your being is listening to that. And so if there's an illness or a pain in the body as well, to just see it as energy. When you actually focus your attention on that pain in your body fully, you might actually notice that the pain isn't even really inside of the body. It might actually be in the auric field, or it might be not so static and compact. It might actually be moving around and warm. And so once you can start to really tune into it, you can realize that it's easier to move. And so then you can start playing with it. So you can start using the breath, which is an ancient way of healing. So breathing into that space and just imagining breathing it out and starting to transform it, and playing, seeing if you can change the shape of it and see how that feels as well. So those are some ways of starting to break down the understanding of illness or dis-ease in the body, or disharmony as well. Starting to break it down to energy, it makes it much easier to shift and move.
Yeah, beautiful. Those are great tips for people. Yeah, and going back to the concept of energy and vibration, how we are learning that, and this is a topic that keeps coming up, a point that keeps coming up in the conversations that I'm having, the interviews that I'm doing for the show, is how everything really is energy, and it's about creating harmony in the field, right? So when you're talking about doing these things to get us into that, it's like developing a presence practice, even 5 minutes a day, anything that brings you into the present, right? What we're talking about is raising our vibration to a frequency that's in harmony with the life that we want, right? The pain-free, abundant, joyous, happy life, right?
Exactly.
And what I'm learning through a lot of these conversations is that, you know, vibration really is the creator of all things, as well as the healer of all things, because if everything is created from vibration, as we tune our vibration to a higher frequency, we can raise the lower vibrations, and so that we can all be lighter and brighter, right? And I love that you mentioned meditation as a tool to come into the presence, and how the words that you use specifically about the boundaries becoming fuzzy, that is something that I like to think about and envision. And when I teach yoga, I call my yoga visionary yoga, and when I have people in Shavasana, I like to say, you know, imagine the boundaries of your body temple just dissolving, and you're just merging into the oneness. I mean, this is the same thing that you're talking about, right? Is getting into that place of total presence, and really merging with the oneness, the field that we're all in.
Yes.
Right? So
yeah, exactly.
We are on the same vibration,
Yeah.
Morwena.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew you had come highly recommended. I had heard someone talking about you, and they had a session with you and said this woman was really incredible. And then when I heard you give your talk in the tea temple, I was like, I really want to sit down with this woman and talk about vibration.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's really nice to meet you and spend the time with you. And thank you for being so open and sharing your gifts like you do and saying yes to it. I can imagine, well, you know, it's nice that you had a mother role model this for you. You know, and it would be a prayer for me right now that there may be somebody listening to this program that is in touch with these parts of themselves to some degree, and maybe doesn't have support and could be getting some validation through this conversation right now to move in that direction and know that, you know, it's real and it's possible and that it's actually a great thing to cultivate, you know, these gifts, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and I really want to encourage everyone listening to, you know, to the best of your ability, be your own healer. And, you know, maybe it makes sense to seek out a healer who, you know, specializes in some of these energy healing modalities and have a couple of sessions and get more familiar with it and see which forms really resonate with you, and it comes down to vibration, resonance. You know, if it feels good, go that way.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, if it feels good, keep going.
Yeah.
Right? And using your feeling as your guide, you know, until you get to the point where you really know your guides so well, like you do, you know, just using your, you know, your gut feelings as your guide and tuning as much as you can into that intuition and practicing those meditations and blurring the boundaries and all that good stuff. Great. Anything else you would want people to know or that you feel you want to add?
I think just on that as well, just to say that if you are feeling, if this has brought up some things for you, that maybe you were feeling energy or had insights or, you know, anything like that, that you might not have somebody to speak with about, to know that you are supported, and there is so much support in the world, and there are many people out and about that you would be quite surprised that would actually be very supportive to speak with. And all around the world there are groups and communities with healers who are usually more than happy to have a talk around these things. And for sure, if you have any questions, feel free to, you know, jump on my website. I'm happy to answer questions. I know when it was the beginning of my journey, it was a little bit intense, I would say. I was having out-of-body experiences and I didn't know what they were. I had to Google them to know what they were, and feeling energies around me and things before I was fully on the healing journey. And so to know that you are, there are people, that it's real and that people understand and that you are supported and that there is a community of understanding, loving people that are definitely willing to talk about it and to offer support.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. It's just your soul's expansion. Nothing to be afraid of. Nothing to fear here. Right? Beautiful. Yeah, I hope that the people listening have gotten some, you know, feel empowered from this conversation and can maybe, you know, cultivate that daily presence practice to hone their own, you know, intuition and skills and talents and move towards being their own healer. Ideally, that's what I'd love to see in the world, is for everyone to be their own healer and be reminded that you know, we are absolutely capable of healing ourselves. Our bodies are, you know, born for it, and we just need to get out of our own way. And I really feel like the Theta healing is so fascinating, that you know, just learning how so much of, you know, our day-to-day decisions and actions are you know, coming from that subconscious, and if we can get to the point where we can reprogram that subconscious, I mean, it's just you know, it's infinite what we can accomplish and create, and the levels of joy that we can achieve in this lifetime. So that's exciting to think about. Thank you for your yes to everything that you're doing, and for your time here today. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Namaste.
you so much for having me. Namaste.
Thanks so much for answering the call to be here today. I'm so glad you're part of our tribe of activated rainbow warriors. If you found the show in any way empowering or inspiring, I would be so grateful if you would share the show on social media or with friends and family that you think would benefit from these conversations. And also, rate and review the show in iTunes. This is really the very best way to help support the show and help us get noticed by others who are looking for the sort of content that we're sharing. Now notice there are no outside ads playing here. That's because the show is supported by you, the listener. You can become a patron of the show with a small monthly donation by checking out the perks on our Patreon page at patreon.com/visionary lifestyle and signing up there. There's also a one-time donation button on the podcast page of the website if that suits you better. And just so you know, your donations help to cover the necessary out-of-pocket monthly expenses to produce the show and will also help us grow so we can inspire and educate even more people. And hey tribe, I'd love to hear from you. Visit me at visionary-lifestyle.com and please tell me your comments and questions. I really look forward to connecting with you. I love you. Namaste.